JBR Podcast.
Wake up and check it out.
Where music and life connects. Let's go.
Yeah. So we're recording. I'm just gonna turn my little light on here so you can see my ugly mug a little bit better.
Excellent.
So what's going on? You gotta tell me about the Super Chicken stuff, because
Sure.
when I toured with Russell Jackson in the 90s,
Uh-huh.
my American mom was like an agent for Super Chicken.
Mm.
Booked him all over
Oh.
the place.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I saw his name, I was like, but I don't really know him, so he would, but
Yeah.
I'm sure he would remember Connie.
Maybe. It's amazing the things that man doesn't remember. Oh, that's very
Yeah.
cool though. I met Super Chicken. Well, actually, it was a buddy of mine in Toronto, a guy, an old friend of mine called Raul Beneju, who's an actor and a musician. He's got a really good band in Toronto called Raul and the Big Time. He'd brought Super Chicken out to Toronto probably about 10 years ago. Probably about 2 or 3 times I did shows with him. And he had met him in Clarksdale. He had gone down there to sort of talk to people in Clarksdale, where Super Chicken is from, all about a play that he was doing, and ended up touring around with him. Anyway, so Raul had talked to me about it. He says, "This guy's great. He's the real deal. He's a lovely dude. You should see about bringing him to Vancouver." So I did, and that was before the pandemic. So I just sort of called him up. We chatted. He seemed like a really nice guy. I said, "Look, my band will back you up. We'll do a few shows. What do you think?" He's like, "Send me the plane ticket. I'll be there." And that was literally it. There was no contract. There was nothing. I was like, "Yeah, are you sure?" "Yeah." So sent him the plane ticket. He shows up, and we did a show at the Rio Theater, and we did a show at Blue Frog. Just the 2 shows, because I really wasn't sure. I thought, how much do people know this man? And we did so much promo, and honestly, I think we almost sold out the Rio Theater. There were so many folks that did know him, because he's been on the blues cruises for many years, and there seems to be a lot of people at the Rio who had actually seen him on the blues cruises through all the years. And then we did the show at Blue Frog, and it was great. Like, we would do a set, and then he would play for the rest of the night with us backing him up. And there was no rehearsals. You know what it's like when you're playing with certain folks. And it was like, could you send me over a set list? Sure. That never came. And I'm going through his CDs going, man, there's like some serious parts and all these sort of things going on. Do you want to do these songs? Do you want to do those songs? Sure. We didn't do any of them. So we're at the Rio. And it was actually the only time we're going to during the sound check is when we're going to practice. And then, so Randy Clark in our band, the Mojo Stars, he had picked him up because he got a place from out in New West, and Super Chicken didn't know that was him for the night. And he's like, "I don't have my stage clothes. I got to go back." So Randy had to, so we didn't even get to sound check. So Randy drives him all the way back to New West. Well, it was me, Mike Wedge, Tom Gould, and, oh my God, I'm forgetting the drummer. Oh, hang on a minute. It's not Terry Hoff, not our drummer now. It'll come to me. It'll come to me. He didn't play with this for very long, but he's a wonderful drummer, but I can't remember his name. Anyway, so we just sort of sound checked for him, and then he comes back, and yeah, we literally go on stage, and I was like, "What key? What do you want to do?" He's like, "Just follow me." And he starts, and he would never actually turn around and tell the keys. And it was Mike Wedge who all seemed to know instinctively. He was just like, hey. I'm like, I didn't have to do too much, honestly. It was all down to the rhythm section, I thought, like 100%. But it went great. And then Blue Frog was the same thing. And we were sort of warmed up. Blue Frog, we actually had, with Tom Gould, we also had Randy Oxford, who's this lovely trombone player, since retired, but he's played with an awful lot of guys. We brought him up from Seattle, where he lived, or Portland, maybe at the time, or Seattle. And he played with us as well. And he never, ever, basically, not only had he not played with us, our band, the Mojo Stars, he'd never played with Super Chicken either. And he just took all his cues that night from Tom. And it was amazing. Like, he was so good at listening to Tom and figuring out stuff on the fly. It's like a horn section on the fly. Not many people can do. The recipe for disaster is so high, I found. And it wasn't. It was a great night, and that was it. And then then he goes back, and then while he was here, I've been kind of working in and out of film for a few years, and while he was here, um, my same buddy in Toronto, Raoul, has said, "Look, if you ever looking to do a film on him, on somebody, a documentary, what a great guy he is. Get to know him a bit over the weekend when he's there and see what you think." And so we pulled out the cameras while we were there and just did like little impromptu interviews with him. And it was really good. He was very comfortable on camera and he talked really very easily. He didn't hold anything back. I thought, wow, we should do more. We can't just do a documentary in Vancouver. So we had like little bits of footage and we said, okay, we're going to come down to Mississippi and 3-man film crew, including myself, and we'll interview you. And then the pandemic happened. We're literally booked to go just before the pandemic took off. And of course, everything was shut down. So there was no chance of going. So we had to wait to the end of the pandemic. And as soon as everything was sort of lifted and seemed safe enough, and he was still kicking strong and everything was okay, we went to Mississippi and filmed him. And that was about 2 years ago now. Went there, filmed him, came back, did some editing. We thought we were just going to do it as a short film. Then we realized we had quite a lot of footage, but not enough for a feature length. Went back again, got some grant money from Mississippi, and we went back and filmed him again, which was great. So spent just honestly, James, probably only about a total of 2 weeks, which is really not much for a documentary film. I mean, most people are hundreds of hours of footage. We didn't have that at all. We just were very selective. And the thing was, when we first went, I don't think he ever believed we're going to show up and film him. Because I'd be like, we'll be there on Monday and blah, blah, blah. And it was a Sunday at this time, and it's going to be great and blah, blah, blah. Sounds good, Mark. See you then. But I could tell from his tone or his emails, he's like, yeah, he's not coming. And we get there to Clarksdale Sunday night or Saturday night. We get there at like midnight. We thought we were in the wrong town because for some reason we thought we're going to be coming to Vegas. I know it's because it's such a popular place. Come in, it's pretty small. And it was all pretty close by midnight or 1 a.m. We're kind of driving around going, check the map again. Maybe we're in the wrong place. No, we're in Clarksdale. And we get to the hotel. And I'll never forget that the guy at the hotel who checked us in, he gave me a piece of advice. It's been great for the last 2 years of doing everything in Mississippi. He says, you're going to see things and hear things that you just won't understand. Yeah. And I was like, it was this ominous midnight warning as if like, what does he mean? What's going to happen? But he's like, but welcome to the South. And honestly, that made a lot of sense. It really did. So anyway, so the next day, like I call him, I call Chicken up. I say, we'll be by. I've got your address. See you when we can. We're pretty close to where you live. Pause. Oh, you're really here? I'm like, yeah. And we're here for a week. So I'm ready when you are. And again, James was hilarious because then he was like, I'm just doing some chores. Well, you can come by later this afternoon. I'm like, okay. So he's moving house. He's never going to come back. And we went by later that afternoon. And the thing was, for that week we were there, we had to work around his schedule because he was still working full time. He was still truck driving. And he hadn't really thought of taking any time off. So we're like, it was literally like we would go out. I'd organize these interviews with Charlie Musselwhite and Cedric Burnside and a host of other people. And as soon as we'd done one of those interviews, I get a phone call from Chicken, like, meet me at the underpass over on Highway 68. I'm like, okay. We would go and we'd literally film some on the truck, and then we'd get them off the truck and we'd go home. So it was really, we got some wonderful interviews with people, from Cedric and Charlie and like I said, a lot of other people. But the second time we went back, we had to spend more time with Chicken. And part of the deal was we got a grant where we got him to go to Jackson State University and talk at the university to students. And the idea was we're going to film this, which is what we did. We filmed him talking to the students, checking out the jazz program. But that grant allowed us to spend more time with him. And then we spent more time in Jackson where we actually got to interview Bobby Rush and other people as well that were more sort of pertinent to his story, his backstory. And we spent time with his family as well. And when we were there, it was classic sort of things. We were on our way to Jackson for this symposium we were doing, and he kind of turned to us and said, "Oh, I'm missing a big family dinner tonight." We're like, "Oh, well, we don't want to take you away from that." I said, "Well, look, we can go to the dinner and then we go to Jackson later." Okay, so we got to hang out with his whole family. It was a very large family, and the really, really nice people who also, it's really interesting, James, because when you pull out a camera, some people are like, "Ooh," and even though you're doing a documentary, you don't want anybody acting, but there was a lot of people like, "Time for my close-up. Let me tell you about chicken." There was all these great things that we did. And we had to get to Jackson because that night was a Sunday night, and he was featured on 60 Minutes. 60 Minutes had done a piece on him along with, God, who else was in that piece? It was all about Clarksdale. There was just it was a lot of about the blues in Clarksdale, and Kingfish. Kingfish was the main, well, not the main, it was basically Chicken and Kingfish, the old and the new, and all about the blues in Clarksdale. And it was being broadcast that night on 60 Minutes. So we rushed to Jackson, check into the hotel, and realized that the hotel chain that we were in didn't carry CBS. So we're up in the hotel room, all ready to watch. Funny, can't find CBS on this. Go down to the lobby, go down to the bar. Oh, we don't carry CBS. Oh, so we're never going to watch the damn thing.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was very, very sort of typical Mississippi-ish. Anyway, since then, make a long story short, so we came back, we edited the rest of the film, and last year we premiered the film at the Clarksdale Film and Music Festival, which is in Clarksdale, which is great because it was so many people that knew him. And they've been doing a film festival there for it's about 20 years now, so it's got a lot of traction, and there was a lot of media about it, which is good. And then since then, we've got distribution for the film, so it's going to come out on various streaming services in April. And then we're going to Oxford, Mississippi in a couple of weeks. The film's got into about 10 different festivals in the last 6 months, and 2 of them are in Mississippi, Magnolia, which is a lovely one, and also Oxford. And we're going to the Oxford one because film festivals don't pay for you to go. They sort of help out with, fees and things, but the onus is, if you want to come, we're going to show you a film. It'd be wonderful if you come and you can talk about it. We'll do a Q&A. But no, don't knock yourself out. But so Oxford are helping us get there. So in a couple of weeks, we'll go there and do a Q&A and all sorts. Unfortunately, Chicken can't come. He can't be part of that because he's already booked to do a bunch of shows that weekend, and he can't take any time off. So anyway,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been amazing. It's been great fun. And then, what we also did is, and I don't know if you were around at the time, we brought Chicken back in May of last year, and we did the Rio Theater again. But this time we played the film. So did the film, then we brought Chicken out, and my band, the Mojo Stars, we backed him up. That was great. And then we did the same thing over at the Queens of Victoria. We went to play the Dudney Pub, and then we went on a little tour to Kelowna, over into Washington State, played a bunch of shows with him there. And then the following month in June, we did a 1 month, oh, it would have killed me. We did a 1 week long tour of the film with Chicken through Mississippi. We got a grant from these awesome people called Mississippi Humanities, and we got to tour the film through all these different theaters with Chicken. At the end of it, Chicken and I would basically play, which was, that was the whole thing. It's like, you saw the film on him, here's the man, and he'd come out, we'd do a Q&A, and then we would play. So that was fun. That was a lot of fun. It's a great state, great people. Not without its ups and downs, but generally went really, really well. So,
of course, yeah. No, I've never met more hospitable people in my life than those down south. I spent a lot of time down south playing in blues clubs, and
of course you did, yeah, with Russell and so forth. Yeah, they are. They're so hospitable, aren't they? Yeah. People are very, very welcoming. Regardless of the culture, the background, the politics. Yeah. It's everybody's really nice. Yeah.
You touched on you ask for set lists and he doesn't send one. He just shows up and play, and that's That's exactly how I am with music, because I kind of learned that from Russell and all these old school black blues guys that
Sure, yeah.
they just play the crowd, and it's like, yep, go start the
Yeah.
tune, right? Russell would always tell me that's what BB King doing. He would
Really?
he would just, and it's like,
Oh my
shit,
gosh.
you know, like where are we at, right?
And that's with a whole orchestra behind him, or a whole horn section. That's amazing.
Yeah. And you know, I toured with Tom Gould, who's in your band.
Yeah, of course.
Tom toured with us, and he's got a ton of experience with that, and which is probably why when Randy came up, it was kind of like second nature for him.
Oh, it was when Chicken was up there. Tom was he was loving it. It seemed to remind him of all the days that you guys spent, because I know you guys, other than just playing with Russell, you also played with a whole host of other folks. And he was in the only problem that Tom had, or what all of us had, was Chicken plays an instrument called the diddley bow, which you might know, and it's for anybody who doesn't know out there. So you got the 6-string guitar, then the diddley bow is essentially like action yay high, and you just play it with slide. Now he makes his own diddley bows, and artistically they look amazing. They're gorgeous, little works of art. But they can be a little bit funky to play. Like I remember when I was in Jackson playing with him in a club when we were filming, and he had me up on stage and he gave me one of his normal guitars, because he also makes guitars. I was like, this is great. Wow. And it feels cool. But the electronics were so that when I tried to turn down, it went up, and the volume button went 360. I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm going over to the amp, turning it down to 2, because the guitar seems to be getting louder. So the diddley bow, though, I mean, and he plays it great. He's in just an E tuning, or, a slide E tuning. And he does some pretty amazing stuff with that, but he also starts to kind of go out of tune a bit. And I remember, Tom would be sitting there, because he'd be going from E to F, and then to E flat, and then back up to F, and maybe even close to F sharp. And then somewhere you might end up in an E at the very last note, and sitting there watching Tom fiddle with his reed all night long, trying to figure out what key it's in.
Yeah, I could see Tom doing that, because I used to fuck with Tom all the time. He would say, give me an A.
Yeah.
And then, kind of doing his thing. As
you give him an A flat. Here you go, Tom.
I would hit the open A, but between the tuning pegs and the nut, I would just push the A string a little bit.
That's just a tiny little.
But I would push it before I'd hit the A, so you wouldn't hear it go boom.
Oh, I can hear Tom sweating.
And then he would tune to that, and we'd start to play, and he's
like,
what the fuck?
Yeah, Tom, there's no amateur hour, getting key.
Just seeing if you got the ears to know if you're in tune or not. No, that's
great. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So now, when you know what it's like for these guys, and I think the lack of set list is an interesting thing, James, isn't it? Because I mean, even watching Chicken play with his normal band, which is all women, Super Chicken and the Fighting Cocks.
I love it.
That's a great name, and they're amazing. They're such a great band, but it's the same thing. I mean, he's not. Hey, what's the set list? They're all just sort of ready, and he's just calling off songs all over the place, which is great, because everyone's familiar with the material. I mean, by the time I'd halfway through the tour with him last year, I pretty much knew all of his songs. I was like, okay, I'm not going to kind of not know what to do. It was only, I think, when he did the diddley bow, the challenge for a rhythm guitar and for bass was to do something fresh, because they're all in a key of E, and they're all just sort of driving sort of songs with different lyrics, but the beat was pretty similar. The structure is exactly the same. I've got Trevor Newman in the band, who's as everybody knows, and he and I'd always be trying to figure out something different to play. I'll tell you one more story. The other thing is with Chicken, and this is really cool. He grew up really hard. I mean, he grew up very, very, very poor, and you'll see that in the film. He talks about that quite a bit. And part of that is he recycles everything, never throws anything out. And that's, I think, where he ended up making his own guitars, and not realizing that people would buy them most people who are buying them are actually not even players, or just collectors of art. And I've got one upstairs, and it plays great because I play it, and he gifted it to me, which is lovely. But it does look really nice in the living room. And people are like, what's this? But he, oh God, I'm forgetting where I was going with that. I was going somewhere with that story. Oh, right. So last February, we played the Saskatoon and Regina Blues Festival with him. So I got these gigs, and we went out and did our little set, and then we backed him up. So we're playing in Regina at the casino there, and it had like Mike Zito was on the bill, who's a lovely guy, and they played together before on the blues cruises. Anyway, so we're up there, and Chicken's playing, and it's sounding great, and he's in the middle of a really cool solo on the diddley bow, and suddenly the sound just vanishes. No sound at all. And we're all looking over, and it's clearly a technical problem. We're like, oh God, what's going on? And he's over there jiggling, and he's not like he's got a pedal board. He's got one pedal, and it's like an organ sound, and he's over trying to do things and do sort of different things. And I start soloing, and then the sax player starts with another sax player. Tom couldn't make it, and he starts doing things, and everything's okay. But eventually, a sound man comes out and replaces his patch cord. At the end of the gig, we're backstage, and I see Chicken rolling up the same patch cord and putting it back in his bag. I was like, no. I said, don't do that. Throw it out. And he's like, no, I can fix this. I can do something with this. But whether he remembered to or not is a different thing, because the next gig he'll be using the same patch cord and wondering why suddenly there's no sound in the middle of 3 songs. But, jeez.
Yeah, the no set list thing, that's exactly what I do. And I learned from guys like Super Chicken.
Sure.
It was always just play the room.
It keeps it fresh as well. Play the room, and yeah.
It's the same songs, and with blues, you never play them the same every time. Tempo might be a little different versus, amount of phrases for solos. But yeah. I can totally relate with that. That's so cool, though. I love it.
It does, and it works well. I mean, guys like yourself who know the genre well enough, it's gonna work. So, and as long as you've got a good backing band, which obviously you do, and obviously Chicken does as well, you're always going to be okay. And that was something I found actually with Chicken. I mean, like I said, there's not much a second guitar player can do except just, honestly, I just found just stay out the way. I mean, he was very generous and always got me the solo, but it's his show. To me, it really came down to bass and drums. And we had Terry Hoff on this last tour last year, and Trevor Newman. It really came down to bass, I think, more than anything, to be honest with you, because we did some tours when we were over in Washington. We had a totally different rhythm section, and they were great, but the drums he was a fantastic drummer, but not quite a blues enough drummer to maybe quite suit Super Chickens. And he had to change up the songs a fair bit. But watching Trevor just sort of like lay down perfect bass lines for each of those songs was great. And I thought, yeah, it really does come down to that to me so much. If you're backing somebody like, I mean, I didn't need to be there. Sax doesn't need to be there. Organ. I mean, these are all great additions, but certainly, when you pare it all down, it really should be, how good is a bass player to back that individual up.
Yeah, it's the foundation of the cake, right? The rest of it's the sprinkles. If you don't have a good foundation.
Yeah. It's a good name for a band. Nothing. The Sprinkles.
The Sprinkles, yeah. I don't know.
Buddy Rogers and the Sprinkles.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the Fighting Cocks much better.
Yeah, it's better, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a great thing.
I wish I thought of that. So, aside from Super Chicken, what else are you doing in the film world? Because I saw you post some stuff. You were like in a TV series, a movie.
I was in Virgin River, James. Yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, you used to do acting too, did you not? Many years ago?
Yeah.
I started this only about 10 years ago. I started doing short films. 10, 12 years ago, when Randy and I took a little break, which maybe if you talk to him, he might expand upon that sabbatical he took down south.
Yeah, I am
Research.
talking to him. He's going to
Research.
be on. I'm recording him in a couple weeks or next week or something
Excellent.
like that. So I'm going to try and get that out of him because I knew him before and
Yeah.
after all that. So yeah.
Well, I mean, he talks about it on stage, fairly often because there's some good songs that came out of that. But I'll leave that to him. So anyway, when he was away, I'd always wanted to try. I had a lot of friends who were actors and just artist friends, but actors, filmmakers, whatever. And I had done some music for a bunch of different sort of short films in Vancouver from independent filmmakers. And so I ended up writing one, which was great, and got it to a director, and he made it, and it got into some festivals, and he asked, and during the process, he said, would you want to act in it? And I was like, oh yeah, why not? So I did that, and it was, and I loved doing it. It was so much fun acting. I mean, it's so different from music, as you know. I mean, it's a lot of waiting. A lot of waiting.
Hurry up and wait.
Hurry up and wait. Exactly. Yeah. Last time I was on set, which was October, I think it was on the North Shore, and it's hair and makeup at 5 p.m. and I filmed at 2 a.m. At which point all your makeup's gone. You're just like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know who I am anymore. You spend all the time in the trailer, looking over your life and every single detail, wondering what happened to it, what went wrong. But and then you do, and you're like, this is the best feeling ever. It's like being on stage. It's wonderful. But the thing is, with music, there's not a lot of waiting around. You get to the gig, you do a couple of hours. It's not tense waiting. Whereas acting can be very, very sort of like, So anyway, no, I was on Virgin River recently, but it's just small parts, which is absolutely fine because it cuts down any anxiety, I think, opposed to like some big parts. But I also, before doing a documentary, we did a bunch of short films, me and my filmmaking partner, and with my wife as well, because she works in the industry as well as a voiceover artist. And during the pandemic, we did some short films. They got onto festivals and stuff, which was great. And, it's just, I really, really, really like doing it. I mean, it's, but I mean, if you think sort of music is challenging for anybody out there, like, trying to get work acting or get a film made makes music look like, I don't know, a cakewalk. Exactly. As if like being a lawyer. It's like, this is just so easy. I'm just going to watch the money come in. It's quite something. I mean, I think it's, I was thinking about this when I was out. I went for a walk before your podcast. And it was funny. I tell you what sort of, I don't know what galvanized it. 10 years ago, doing the short films, we had an agent that was, like anything, any agents, there are tiers of agents. You can go, the very first acting agent I had didn't even have an office. I was picking up my mail from a realty corporation. Checks with the ladies at the office. I'm like, I can't find her office on Google. Oh, just walk on in. And I'm going into someone's totally different business. I'm like, hi, I'm here to pick up mail from, yeah, here you go. I'm like, what is this? But then, what changes? Then you get a few more roles, and you go to the next agent. You're like, okay, yeah, you've done something. We'll bring you on. But what really changed it was not me. It was like, so my wife and I were doing these, and I was still working as a teacher. I was teaching English as a second language for a long time, and that was my main gig. So I would be teaching and going to auditions after, and playing music on the weekend whenever I could. And then our son, who was like 7 years old at the time, he was sort of, he was looking at my wife and I going, that looks like fun. You guys go to auditions. We're like, I'm not sure fun's a word, son, but it's okay. And he goes, I want to try it too. We're like, okay. So he came out for a couple of auditions for commercials. Maybe one or two, James. Then he did a voiceover audition. And the agent we had at the time, who I think has now become a realtor, because she then calls me up. She goes, yeah, this audition he did, yeah, I think it's for a big time director because they want to fly him to New York to do the rest of the audition. I'm like, what? And nobody flies anybody anywhere unless it's big time. And I said, well, I think it's good you find out who this is. And so she did, and it was Wes Anderson. She goes, yes, it's for a Wes Anderson film. Do you guys want to go? I'm like, yeah, I think we do. So my wife and I go to New York to this awesome music studio. It's a gorgeous studio. And it was for our son, Koyu, to basically, and he was only 7 years old at the time, to finish this audition. And they're paying for everything. So we're like, okay. And he gets a script, and it's for an animation film. The script is all Japanese. My wife is originally from Japan, and my son speaks Japanese. So that was part of the audition. He has to speak Japanese. And my wife gets a script, and she's like, oh, wow, yeah. So she coaches him and think it should be okay. And we get there, and Wes Anderson comes out, all dressed the way he is. Hi, I'm Wes. How are you? Super nice guy. They go into the room, and my wife's actually helping out because Wes Anderson does not speak Japanese. But part of the film is in Japanese. And so our son spends, what did we spend? 2 days? 2 days in New York. And it's like 2, 3, 4-hour sessions, whether they were. And that was it. He got the role, and that film ended up becoming what's called Isle of Dogs, which is this very famous Oscar-nominated live action animation film. Wow. And my son does the role of the main kid in the film, who's called the main character called Atari. So we got this, and we suddenly realized the person to negotiate the contract was not our agent, because you're now negotiating with top people. So we suddenly kind of looked out to other people, and they're like, oh, we've got other friends of ours are like, you really need a better agent. So we got a different agent, another tier. And that basically, him doing that process, and what happened as well, James, they record all the voices, and then the film's made for 3 years. And then when the film was out, they wanted us to all go to these basically premieres. And the premieres were New York, Tokyo, and the first one was in Berlin. Once that happened, because Koyu, our son, had done that, there was not an agency in Vancouver that didn't want him.
Of course.
Which also meant they got us as well. So we're with a lovely agent, Lauren Levin Associates. They're a great agency, and that's how we ended up, kind of getting on with them, because they're like, oh my God, your son is, and we were posting some stuff at the time, because we would go to these premieres where we were literally hanging out with, we spent quite a bit of time with Bill Murray, or, meeting Edward Norton and all these people that had done the voices for the film. And we'd be literally spending hours with these guys at different places. And that also, honestly, that really, to see one man's imagination, Wes Anderson, and how many jobs that can create, and how much joy and how much everything that could actually go on to for so many people for so many years, was such a lovely inspiration as well. I mean, and he's been doing it for 30 years, and he started with short films and just kept going. And he's incredibly talented, obviously. And everybody who's part of it is talented, but it was an amazing sort of experience to sort of give us the idea of like, wow, isn't it, to be in the arts at this level, which very, very, 1%, if even ever attain, but it was a very inspiring sort of thing to do. And out of it, and the funny thing is our son doesn't act anymore. He stopped quite recently, because it was funny, James, to start here at the absolute top level where he was literally, hanging out with these wonderful actors. I mean, it was this one, we did this premiere in New York, and at the end of the premiere, Koyu was up on stage at the Lincoln Center doing a Q&A with Jason Schwartzman, Jeff Goldblum, and Wes Anderson. And he's up there with a microphone talking away. And after that, we all went to this party where Bill Murray walked with us all the way through Manhattan, from the hotel. He's like, I'll cancel the car. Let's go together. We're like, okay. It was such a stressful walk because you're walking through Manhattan with Bill Murray. And you're kind of going, what do you ask one of the most famous human beings on the planet? It's like, I really liked you in Caddyshack. I mean, you don't know what to ask. So you start talking about normal things, which is good. And we had this funny moment. We were walking from the hotel, basically all the way down for a good half an hour's walk. And of course, everybody's walking in New York. It's sort of like, it was the middle of winter as well. And we get to this crosswalk, and this homeless guy in a wheelchair kind of comes over. And I don't know if he recognized Bill Murray. He goes, hey, man, you got some money? And Bill Murray takes out this wad of God knows how much money. He starts and I don't know if it was ones or tens or hundreds, but starts putting it in this guy's bag. Go get a haircut, buddy. Go clean yourself up. I know you can do it. And we're in the middle of the intersection. And then the lights now turn green, but all the cars, you just see people kind of going,
what's happening?
Oh, exactly. Why is Bill Murray giving money out? And who are these people that are with him? when you're with these famous people, I find other people think you're staff. So people would come up to me and be like, "Do you think I could take a picture with Bill Murray? Can you ask him?" I'm like, "Sure, I'll ask him." "What do you think, Bill? Would you?" Like, "Sure." They don't think that you're anybody. They're sure that you're, you're someone who's, making him go down the street for some reason. But anyway, so that, to make a long story short, that's how we ended up getting a really, really great agency. And my wife and I have done certainly more work, and it is great. But I mean, making a documentary is it's the main thing I love doing because it's something I have control over. I used to work as a journalist a long time before I was a teacher. Well, I kind of did it freelance for a while, and it's a great combination of like interviewing and organizing and editing. It sort of brings everything, together in a way. And you don't, unlike feature length or unlike, fiction films, you don't have to rehearse anybody. Even doing a short film, to find actors and for them to like the material and to rehearse it a bit and to have a script you think is good and get all this is a huge amount of work. And at the end of it, you might have a crap film. Nobody likes.
Yeah.
So, documentary is a bit different because you're like, hey, let's go. And you can just do it anytime, anywhere. And that's, I think, kind of our style as well. It's very, we didn't stage anything. We didn't change any environment that we were in ever. We're never like, can you take that off the table? We were always just trying to be true to whatever situation we were in. And you'll see some of that. I mean, the interview we even took, one of the last scenes is with Bobby Rush and Chicken in the back of a club. And it was very last minute. Bobby Rush had just kind of knew about the film that we were doing and wanted to help out. But we didn't know he was going to be there, and he was, and we didn't have a lighting crew. We had nothing. So we were like racing around the club trying to like find all these old lamps and stick them towards these guys. And it looks great. It looks like some sort of mafia meeting at the back of a club.
That's awesome.
But it worked out okay, So, yeah.
I totally understand it because my grandmother was in acting, and she did a show with Martin Short and Danny Glover.
Wow. Yep.
And I was probably, I would have been 13. So I would have been 89. And I joined in with her agent. Same like you said, you get an agent. It's just like, hey, if my grandma's with you, like throw the grandkid in there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I got the role to play Peter Gordon in Stephen King's It.
Oh, cool.
So I did that, and Seth Green was there, and we hung out a lot. And
I didn't know this. I didn't know you did that.
Okay. Yeah, I did that. So that movie came out in 1990 or something, but we filmed it in 89. Like throughout New West and Coquitlam and stuff.
Yeah.
It was the trailer and the makeup and stay out of the sun. And
And how old were you at the time?
I was about 13, 14.
Wow. Yeah, sure.
And at the same time, my dad had just started taking me to clubs.
And
that's when I got picked up by Feldman Agency.
Okay.
And I was playing shows as a teenager with like opening up. And my age was bigger than my name.
Yeah, sure.
And I was playing with like Trooper and the Headpins, Darby Mills, and like getting into. And I met Jack and Tom Lavin from Power Blues and Jerry Doucette.
Yeah,
and so it was like filming it, and then going to the club for a 14-year-old.
Yeah,
it was the hurry up and wait. I would go to the club, and it's like, there's a couple hundred people here, and you're signing autographs, and it's like instant gratification.
And you can release right away. You don't have to be waiting. And for somebody that age, I think it's very, very difficult to sort of explain.
Versus sitting in that trailer for hours upon hours. I'll take a cheeseburger. Like just sitting around waiting,
gaining weight
for that fucking 20 minutes of like on set filming.
Sure. Sure.
And I really resisted the acting side of, and I regret it now because I'd love to get back into it, but the game is so different. I have no idea, right?
No, I mean,
I regret it because I got into the music. I wish I did both. And when I was 18, I actually went for an audition and got a part on the TV series The Highlander. And Jim Burns. I knew Jim Burns for years, and then like Jim's on this show, right? And my agency for music, Feldman, had sent me to this audition, and
Oh, wow.
I didn't want to do it.
Oh,
But
seriously.
it's like, you got to. You
Right,
gotta
yeah.
go. They're sending you there. And it was
Yeah.
like, dress the part. They want you're 18, and they need
Mhm.
an 18-year-old street guy, like wear the part, scruffy hair, do the whole thing.
Yeah.
The only time in my life I ever wore a fucking suit, basically, was for this audition, because I was like, fuck you. I am
Yeah.
not dressing the part. I'm wearing a
Mhm.
suit. I don't want it. I'm going
You don't want
there.
the part.
Fuck you all. And I
Yeah.
walked in, and I played guitar, and the director goes, right there on the spot, you have the part, don't tell anybody. Here's where you got to be Monday morning.
You're like, damn it.
I was like,
What I gotta do not to get a part?
and I said to him, I go, I can't act. He goes, we'll make you act. Don't worry.
Don't worry about that. It's all camera
I need a guitar
angles.
player. Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh, so you were on the show. That's great.
I was on the show. Yeah, I had a part. The
Yeah.
character's name was Corey Littman.
Okay.
And it was like kind of like a secondary,
Mm.
like story to the main story of that
Okay.
episode, right? And
Yeah.
I remember getting there and sitting in this little club, which was Jim Burns' club in the
Mhm.
show, and
Oh, right. I remember.
and they
Yeah.
film, and I play this little guitar part, just like
Yeah.
riff. And you know what it's like as a guitar player, you riff out you make it up as you go.
Yeah, exactly.
And then
Yeah.
they're like, okay, that's fucking beautiful, perfect, right? You know, they set out, they change the cameras around. They're like, okay,
Yeah.
and
Do it again.
action.
Exactly the same.
And I play, and then he stops me
He's
about
like,
2 He's like, no, you
That's
got to
not
do
the
what you
same.
just did. And I was like,
I don't know what I
can't.
did.
I can't. And he's like, well, I need this to be like the Commitments. It had. And
Yeah,
I'm
you'd
like,
be the-
well, can't you set up like 5 cameras and just record it once or something? Like, I don't
Like an
know.
editor's nightmare of like, oh, there's a different note each time.
Yeah.
So what did you do? Did you just sort
Well,
of
that's
quickly?
what they did. They were
Oh,
like,
really?
okay, we'll do it again. We'll get it in one take. And then
Oh,
we took a
good.
break. They set up like multiple cameras and
Yeah.
just go. I did one take, and they're like, we'll do it in post.
Oh,
And I was
how
like,
did it
oh,
look? Do you
fuck.
remember how it looked?
Yeah, you know, the way they edited it to fit into the show, I could hear it was like, you can chop. I'm like, you guys should have had me
Some
in there,
choppy
'cause,
guitar playing there, sir.
yeah, those crossfades weren't cutting it for me, but it wasn't.
Oh, I know.
Whatever.
No, I mean, I honestly think so. Yeah, but when you're 18 or 19, or when you were doing it as 13, it's the same as my son when he was doing it younger. Well, he's only 18 now, but there's a certain sort of freshness and naivety because they're not thinking as much. And I think that's why some kids are so great on set if they want to be there. And that's the hard part, obviously, is the boredom for them. It's just so they're not internalizing it. They're not thinking too much. They're just able to kind of let go and just do whatever they feel like doing. And generally that seems like non-acting, which is what you want to see. You don't want to see any acting. With kids, most of the time you're like, wow, he's great because he just looked like himself,
Exactly.
Yeah. But it's hard. I mean, that's why my son stopped as well. He was just sort of like, the thing is, how tall are you, James? You're what, 6?
6'4".
Yeah, 6'4". Okay, he's not quite that. He's 6'2". And he was forever getting sort of auditions for like the nerdy side, not nerdy, but the sidekick. And he's like 6'2", jockey kid who's really built, plays lots of sports. And he's really good looking too. And you were getting the script. I'm like, this ain't you. In your mind, in his mind, he's like, this is going to go to somebody a foot smaller than me. Like, So eventually he gets to that point. Well, as an adult, you can go, I don't think I'm right for this, but I'll do it anyway because it's good practice. And maybe the casting director will go, oh yeah, and I liked what he did with that. We'll keep him in mind for the next time. Are you explaining that to a 17-year-old who wants to go out and hang out with his girlfriend? No, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and that's what happened to me because I was doing music in parallel and
Yeah.
was like, I just want to go to the bar and sign some.
Just want to go to the bar at 13.
Let's go. Yeah. Well, I was playing strip clubs.
Oh, nice. Well done.
My dad
Well
had
done,
me,
sir.
Yeah, my dad had me in like the Wild Duck, right? It was like go up there and play 3 songs, and then the strippers strip, and it's like, well, you're underage, you got to go hang in the strippers' change room because it's not safe for you in the bar.
Oh no,
I'm
do
like,
I? And your dad's like,
kid.
I got to go too, kid.
Yeah, pretty much. He's like, can I go in there and supervise?
I'll be your chaperone at all times.
No, the funny thing is my grandma would always come around to my music gigs, right? Up until she died at 91, but when she was in her
wow.
mid-70s, like she would be dancing up all night long and
Oh,
just
nice.
going hard and, at the strip clubs. And people are
That's
like,
pretty
there's
amazing.
There's like a 80-year-old lady in the strip club. What's going on?
Giving her at the strip club and giving notes to the ladies going, too much cellulite. No.
Well, she had a dance school, Lady J's School of Dance in Burnaby. She taught like tap dance or I don't know, tap dancing or whatever. Her feet were messed up from doing that for so many years, but standing on her toes and stuff.
You come from a whole long line of entertainment then anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's very, very cool.
Not that any of us have ever really done anything too successful, but yeah, we've tried.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you do it for yourself, and isn't that the hardest thing though? Isn't it? For anybody that you've had on the podcast or anybody who's in the arts is trying not to compare yourself to, everybody who seemed to be doing better than you are at the time. I find being on set, I mean, I don't find any competition in music, and I don't think you do either. But I do find when I'm on set, I have it, because I'm new to it. I'm only new to it being 10 years, but I don't do it every day. I have a terrible imposter syndrome. I'll show up as if like, I wonder when they're going to figure out that I don't know what I'm doing. Any moment now, the actors will see through me, but I wonder how long it'll take the director to go like, we made a mistake.
Get rid of this guy.
Whereas music is always, if you do it long enough, it feels, you can walk into any situation, you feel comfortable, and it's this camaraderie. And with actors, there's a great camaraderie as well. But I've not been doing it long enough to feel comfortable yet at all.
Yeah, I think that sounds like it's in your own mind, right? As a musician, you're much more seasoned to yourself, so you're more confident. So you're like, I got so much more to learn in acting than I do in music.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
But people probably looking at you in a completely opposite light.
Well, they do, don't they? That's the thing. I mean, it's also upbringing. I come from my parents were Scottish immigrants, so there's not a lot of like, you're great. There's a lot of like, you're crap, and I'll tell you when you're not crap. So it's there's always that at the back of your head going, I'm not any good. Oh, if only I had a compliment. No, wasn't that bad, but there is elements of that. If you're good, they'll tell you, that was actually not bad. Usually you're quite shy, but I like that. Oh, thank you. I remember my parents walking out of shows when they didn't like the music. They'd be at the back, like supporting, and they'd be like, and then I'd look back, and my wife would be like, yeah, they left. I'm like, why did they leave? They just didn't like it.
I'm
like,
that reminds me of something totally like unrelated. So you said you had when you did the Super Chicken thing, you had Mike Wedge play.
Yes,
Well,
yes, thank God.
Mike played with me for like so many years.
Yes,
And
yeah.
we used to have this gig where we would go over to Gibson's and Inter Harbor and play like every month. We'd go over for a weekend and do like 3 or 4 shows. And we did this thing for this. I probably shouldn't even say it.
Oh, no.
We did this thing for like an autistic society, right?
Oh, okay.
And we played this gig, and it was like in a burger joint.
Oh,
Right by the London Drugs in Gibson.
interesting.
And I don't even know if it's still there because it's been years.
Yeah.
So we're playing, and people are dancing, having a good time, and there's like some autistic guy in there, and a bunch of them, and the one guy in his wheelchair was just going nuts, and me and Mike look at each other on stage, and we're like, fuck, this is cool, man. Like,
This is
we're
great.
actually,
You're reaching
we're
somebody.
touching people with music, right?
No, it's true. You are. That's totally true.
I know, but
Yeah.
what we realized was that the guy didn't like it.
Oh, he was actually,
He
was
was lo-
was he having a fit? Like, get me out of here.
pretty much. And we're on stage like getting louder because we're like, holy shit, they love
He's
this.
digging it. He's just digging it.
Oh yeah, and we found out afterwards, like,
Move
no,
him
he didn't-
closer. Move him
he didn't-
closer. I remember
felt
playing.
so
Do you
bad.
remember the Rusty Gull that used to be here in the North
Yeah,
Shore? I
Yeah.
remember playing there so many times. There was always one old guy. He would sit there at the front, look like he's ready to listen. And the minute you hit a note, he put his Walkman on. I'd be like, what are you doing? Surely the God is louder than your Walkman. And he just sit there watching all night with his Walkman on.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
funny the shit you
yes.
see. I did a gig with Russell Jackson, and a guy come walk the men's bathroom. You had to walk right in front of the band
Oh,
to get
God.
to it.
Right.
And then he comes out of the bathroom, and he's got toilet paper hanging out of his ears. As he walks.
Subtle.
I was like, what the fuck? Come on. I was like, amp goes to 11. It's only on 7. So.
It's only on 7. Oh, I know. I
Turn
think
it up
something
a
we
bit.
guitar players are a little bit
We've all got a story for that kind of stuff.
Oh God, I know. Tom did that to me once. I went through this stage. I remember we were doing a show at the Fairview, and I was playing a Pro Reverb, and I was trying so hard. I didn't want to use any pedals for the longest time, but the only way to get a natural sound of a Pro Reverb was to really crank it up quite a bit. And I went through this, I think it was like a 2-week period where I was like, I'll just try and put it further back, almost hide it with a curtain, but it gets such a great natural tone. And I remember Tom literally walks off the stage, comes back on with the paper towels hanging out of his ear. Looks like, Eeyore from, some sort of like, hey. And I thought, okay, Tom, I get it. Thanks for that.
Yeah, thanks for that one.
Thanks for that one. I'll bring it down to 6.
It's some of those Fender amps, man. You turn it down to 2 and it's off, and you turn it to 3 and it might as well be on 10.
Oh, it's unbelievable, isn't it? I know.
There's no fine tuning. It's like too loud, too quiet, too loud, too quiet.
Totally. What am I playing through? I'm playing through a deluxe reverb now. And I find that can actually break up at like 3, 4. It can actually break up. And that's good, because 4 is not too loud, But yeah, pros or supers, which are just beautiful sounding amps. Unless you're playing Rogers, they're just a little bit.
Oh, I know. They're so loud.
Or a Twin is horribly loud as well. What do you play? What's your thing now? You're a more boutique guy, if I remember. Wow. This is where we lose your audience, talking about amps.
Yeah, so when I toured with Russell and up until till 2005, I played 2 reissue 59 Bassmans I bought in 1990.
Lovely.
Back when I was doing the It thing and loving music.
Oh, yeah.
So I had these 410s, Tweed, 59 reissue Bassmans, great amps. Yep. And I'd done a gig in Vail, Colorado, and I blew all the fuses and had to play through the PA. And I come back to Vancouver. Mm-hmm. I couldn't find fuses, and my amp kept fucking up on me, and I had a gig opening for the Fabulous Thunderbirds at the Commodore.
Oh, is that all?
And then I was like, fuck, I don't have an amp. Like, what am I going to do? I'm going to Long and McQuaid, trying things, thinking I'll rent, and nothing was doing it for me. And then Simon Jarrett, who lives in Maple Ridge, he makes at the time, he was just getting popular making Kingsley amplifiers.
Oh, right. Okay.
So he said... I love his tone. The guy's a fucking monster of a guitar player, right? Like blues, jazz, fusion. Like he does it all like at a top level.
Yeah, no, he's great. Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, just take this amp and try it out. And if you like one, I'll make one for you."
Oh, nice.
And I said, "Okay."
And it sounded great.
I took that and was like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah. Were you fronting? Were you singing and fronting the band back then as well, or were you just good for you?
Yeah, that was because I left Russell Jackson. My last gig with him was, Let's Party Like It's 1999. New Year's 2000, and then I did my own thing, and at the time Tom Gould was in the band. Yeah, and then he ended up leaving, and the drummer left, and we used our sound guy Jack Garrett on bass.
Okay,
and I played with those guys. We did a album in 2002 and kind of went until 2005 or 6, and then,
right. Yeah.
I ended up having a kid and kind of getting into the world of business.
Yes,
and still always playing, but in 2005 is when I did that, and I ordered the amp and got a European gig out of it, but wanted to stay home because of the kids, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, that's all. I mean, it's something that anybody in the art's going to go through. You're like, finances, joy, and music is not especially in Canada. I don't know anywhere. I presume it's everywhere. It's hard to make a living unless you're on the road all the time.
And even now it's hard.
And even now,
Back in the day, we would go out. I was playing 10 months of the year.
Oh wow, yeah.
And we could play 4 clubs in a month and play 6 nights a week.
Sure. That's good.
Now,
they just don't really.
Good
I know.
luck. Good luck even getting a Friday, Saturday every week on it. You know what I mean? Like, what are you going to do the rest of the week? Spend all your money on hotel rooms?
I know. That's exactly right, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's not like the audience has gone anywhere. I don't know whether it's just the audience is older for the music that we play, obviously, but even like, for example, what I'm doing, documentary films, the audience is the same. It's, it's sort of, I would say 45, 40, 50 plus audience who are going to spend the money to go and watch a documentary film at a festival or at a theater is going to be the same who's going to go out and see live music, be it blues, jazz, or classical music. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I look at my son and his friends. He comes out to all my shows. His friends not as much. They don't really. Maybe it comes down to family. I mean, you're raising your kids in a live music arts household. So did we. So it's completely normal for my son to go out to see live music all the time. But for his pals whose families are just sort of normal, there's none of that.
Yeah.
The first time they ever went to see live music when they were 17 was to come to one of my shows. My son's been coming out since he was like 7 or 8. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I always kind of wonder what it is, or it's just, you talk to previous bar owners, they say, well, people just don't drink as much anymore. I said, well, that's true. It's a good thing. People don't drink as much anymore. But that's certainly part of the economic equation. That if people aren't getting hammered while the band's playing, then that's a huge loss of your sales right there. So how do you compensate for that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what the secret is to that, or the answer.
In BC for us, I think the demographics have just changed from what you touched on, in terms of people just don't, that's not what they do. When you go to Alberta, it's a totally different thing. Like they still have
Winnipeg
with music 7 nights a week. They might not have the same band for 6 or 7 nights like they did 20, 30 years ago. In the States, if you've gone down south, it's a different, especially for blues, different education. I think the live music scene's still kicking and people are still partying, if they're in their late teens, early 20s to mid 30s.
Yeah.
It's just they're not into the live scene. They're into the techno, the DJs, the things
Sure.
that we all make fun of. But then, generationally, you look back and go, well, when we were teenagers, our parents and grandparents were making fun. That's not real music. Oh,
Yeah,
this is
exactly.
real.
I
Now
know.
we're going, that's not real music.
Yeah.
80s hair bands where I'm wearing a Def Leppard shirt, right?
That's true. I did notice that.
So, yeah.
No, you're totally right in that, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. It's so many things. And I mean, I guess maybe it just comes around that it's also a big gamble. To open a club, to actually say, I'm going to book live music, I'm going to do this, and I hope to God I don't lose everything in the process. I mean, yeah, I think you're right. I think the States, I do get the feeling it's a little bit, I don't know, there's just more places to play. There are bigger cities, there's bigger everything. There's just more.
Too. The radio plays more than the 12 songs we hear.
Totally. That's so true. Yeah.
But they say, how do you make $1 million in the blues world? Start with 2.
Yeah. $2. You start with 2.
2 million.
And by the time your buddy guy, let's see.
You start with 2 million to make it.
Yeah. No, it's true. And there's some fantastic, I mean, I think, through doing this film, got to meet so many different kind of guys. And you talking to people like Charlie Musselwhite or George Neighbor, who runs all the blues cruises. There's an awful lot of people who are still really out there doing it. I was talking away to Charlie Musselwhite, and it was funny because he was. I interviewed him years ago for a magazine I was working for. I remember him saying to me, "Oh God, this is what 15 years ago before I interviewed him for a film." He said it's so much easier to be a blues musician these days because there's societies, there's clubs, there's magazines, there's websites. He said I had none of that stuff at all. And in that respect, it's very true. There's a lot of sort of people out there who are supporting it, but maybe no. You're right, James. Is somebody breaking into your home?
No. I was just looking from the guy you said running the blues cruise. He used to own the Grand Emporium.
That's right.
Kansas City.
Yes.
Yeah. Because I played there a bunch of times. Yeah.
Oh,
nice.
nice.
One night, a guy got murdered in the barbecue shop, standing in line. The next
Oh,
day,
dear.
somebody walked in, shot him in the head. But
Ooh.
yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to cut. I didn't mean to
No.
cut you off, but he has the
No.
greatest Stevie Ray Vaughan story ever.
What, Stevie Ray Vaughan was playing there? Or?
Well, he played there, and I guess the late 70s or early 80s, just when
Right.
Stevie was kind of breaking.
Okay.
And he says, "Oh, I got a story for you." He says, "I walked up to Stevie and I told him it was too loud." And he goes, Stevie turned around and looked at me and went, "It's either on or off."
Oh, that's great. That's what I should have told Tom. It's either on or off, Tom.
Yeah.
It's either on or off.
It was that guy that told me that back in the late 90s when I played there quite a bit.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. He's done a great job. I mean, these blues cruises, which he's had going for 20 odd years, I think, if not longer.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, and you got Joe Bonamassa does one now too. There is a lot of people out there who are trying very hard to keep things going, and there is an audience. It's just the audience is a little bit older. I mean, it was the same thing when we did the whole thing, the tour with Chicken last year. The audience is all through Mississippi. This is what I thought. I thought it'd be a bit different because I thought, well, Mississippi is predominantly African American. No, the audiences were mostly white, older people that came to see the film and came to see him play. And it's just, I guess, a reality of, certain demographics go towards certain things. And, it's just, unfortunately, the demographic that enjoy the arts that we do is a little bit on the older side. And you only hope and pray, not pray, believe, but you only hope that there will be people younger than us that will keep it going and that will actually just keep going out to see this, So I think it will. I mean, I think as people say, people say, "Oh, this has been dying off." It's not. I mean, there's still blues clubs, there's still blues musicians, there's just not the quantity that there used to be for film. I mean, film's changing completely. Then it's a whole different thing. I mean, if I'd done this film 20 years ago, I think I don't know if that would be as good as it is now, because now we can at least put this film onto our distributor has got all the streaming services. We've got 2 distributors. One is for all the streaming and different things. It's a wonderful distributor. And the second one is a distributor who actually deals with all the airlines in the world. And their job is to hopefully get our film on as many airlines as they can. Yeah. That stuff didn't exist as much before. So there is plus sides of it as well,
Yeah, you got to pivot.
Pivot. There you go.
Pivot.
It's either on or off, and you got to pivot. These are 2 catchphrases. I'm going to write these. I'm going to market these. Put them on something. You got to pivot. It's on or off.
Well, yeah, Bruce Allen said it great at a luncheon one time. He said, the music industry, we used to make albums to promote tour sales. Or no, we used to, no, sorry.
No, it's the other way around.
Let me get this straight. Yes. They used to tour to promote album sales.
Sure. Now
they make albums to promote tour sales.
Yeah, because you can't make it now. Then he said, pass the ketchup. Yeah, no, I know. You can't really make any money. I guess some people do, but I mean, I saw something with Snoop Dogg saying, explain Spotify to me. I'm not making anything. So if he's not making much and doesn't understand it. Yeah, exactly. What chances do we have?
Yeah, I know. It's insane. Yeah. Well, all you got to do is think about it from a top level. Sam the Record Man, gone.
Yes.
HMV, pretty much gone.
Yeah, I guess so, actually.
People don't buy records. Records are kind of coming back, but people don't buy music.
Records are, yeah.
But look at Long and McQuaid, Tom Lee Music. Like they've expanded because the money is in selling to people that want to make music.
Yeah.
Not people that want to buy music.
Yeah, no, that's so true, isn't it?
That's why ticket prices are through the roof. People go, well, in the 80s, I used to be able to watch 10 bands for $3. Well, yeah, because they didn't give a fuck about the ticket money.
Yeah, that's true.
They made royalties. People bought their albums. Like,
exactly.
Nobody's making royalties and buying albums anymore.
No, they're not. And the whole
gotta charge you a ticket price.
I know. I'm still. You know what? My son's got Spotify, and it was funny because we were holding out for a long time. Like, no, if you like the music, just buy it, son. And I was like, Jesus, this is really starting to add up. Because I mean, you go through that whole process where you're like, I had the records, then I had the CDs, or the tapes and the CDs, and now I'm like, I don't even have a computer that's got a hard drive anymore in which I can burn them anymore. So you're now buying it online, and you're like, this is ridiculous. The only way to do it is to go Spotify or Apple Music. And knowing full well that you're not contributing to anybody's, except for Apple and Spotify, you're not contributing to any artists' coffers.
I'm doing an album next month when I go to Calgary for a few shows.
Yeah.
And it's going to be digital. I'm not making CDs. Fuck that. Nobody buys
Well, no,
CDs.
yeah, because
like you said, your laptops don't even have CDs.
I know.
Do you have a CD player in your car?
No, I haven't had a CD player in the car in years. But actually, funny, the last time when I saw you at the Legion out in Maple Ridge, we sold a CD for the first time in I don't know how many months. And it was this guy bought it, and I was kind of perplexed. I was like, "This is great. He's bought it." I'm like, "What's going to do with it?" Yeah, does he understand what this is? He's going to use it as a coaster. Doing this, his dog is in a park and chasing it. And he says, "Perfect, my dog. I want to hurt his teeth." But I said to him, I don't mean to be an ass. I'm so happy that you've bought this, but where are you going to play it? And he's like, "Oh, he's still got a car. Just got a CD player." I thought, oh, wow. So one of the few people, and I immediately think he's driving like some sort of station wagon, country squire from the 80s.
Yeah. Well,
have
a cassette deck.
That's very true. He's trying to cram it in. Won't work.
It's true. My kid's got a 2005 Mazda. It's got a CD player in it.
It will. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's great. Is your kid still listening to CDs?
No, she's got some little Bluetooth thing she plugs into the cigarette lighter so she can play Spotify.
There you go. You're like, "Here, honey, take all my CDs."
Yeah.
50 CDs in the back seat.
Yeah, it's
oh gosh. Yeah. No, I know. Anyway, it's
Yeah.
either on or off. It's either on or off, James. That's all it is to it.
Should write a song called "On or Off."
On or off? Yeah, totally.
On or off.
Won't make any money on it. It's either on or off. There is actually a song in that. You could just write it from the point of view of like a band who just want to play. It's either on or off. Yeah. Maybe you should co-write a song in that.
Let's do it.
All right. Next podcast, we'll just sit there and write a song for a whole hour.
Yeah.
People can watch the magic of writing a song. What rhymes with off? Toff, boff, no. Soft. Hard or soft? On or off? Yeah, 1 month later, you got yourself a song.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to be on here, man.
Yeah, man. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and we let's do some shows together. We'll line some shit up.
Yes, that'd be a great idea. Would be a great idea. Yeah. And so, and just a quick plug, for anybody who's looking at the film in April, James Super Chicken Johnson, Life in Blues will be on streaming services. You can also just Google James Super Chicken Johnson film, documentary, whatever. We've got websites, social media. We got everything. Yeah. So people can look for the film.
They'll be in the descriptions. I'll put
them
in there. So if you can send them to me, I'll put them in the description so people got links.
You're very high tech. So I don't have to talk about it and beg people to go.
It's either on or off.
It's either on or off. Perfect.
And if they don't watch it, we're going to ban their IP addresses so they can never watch another episode of the podcast.
That's fair. Or I'll just email them personally and say, "What's wrong with it?"
Well, we can do that because there's only like 8 people that watch these podcasts.
Oh, great.
And I know who they all are.
You know who they are, exactly. Or just send me the email addresses. I'll know if they see the film or not.
Exactly. If I don't get 8 hits, I know there's something wrong.
Exactly. Oh, that's good.
Well, right on, man.
All right, man. That was good fun.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And let's keep in touch and play some music together.
Sounds good.
Cheers,
all right.
Man.
Thanks, James.
Bye.